Welcome, YoloLiv YoloBox Pro, the newest device from YoloLiv and an upgrade to the YoloBox. We'll be talking about all of the new features, capabilities, and comparing the units. So stick around, Video Guys Live. All right, and welcome everybody. My name is Oliver Ricketts. If you missed the pre-show, this is the Video Guys Live webinar. We go live every week to talk about some of the latest news in technology and video streaming. And today we are talking about the YoloLiv YoloBox Pro. And Adam, we actually have both of them set up right here. Let's cut to our overhead shot and let's just take a look at what we're going to be talking about here. And that is the YoloBox Pro, this brand new unit. We have it in-house. We have it hooked up to 3 cameras. I've got a bunch of stuff that I want to show off with this unit, as well as with the original YoloBox. We've got them both ready. This is going to be a great show with a ton of information. So stick around and let's jump right into it, folks. So, YoloBox Pro is the newest version of the YoloLiv YoloBox. The original YoloBox was a great, and is a great device for switching small scale 2-camera setups. Or if you wanted to push the capabilities of that device, you could use the USB jack for a 3rd camera. It has onboard graphics as well as lower thirds, and a ton of capability in just a little tablet form factor. Now with the YoloBox Pro, YoloLiv is offering even more capability, still in that tablet form factor, with that same UI, but a greater CPU, greater processing, faster speeds, and most importantly, more inputs. So if you're doing a production of a larger size, but you like being able to mix with YoloBox, this is your answer at $1,299, making the YoloLiv YoloBox a product family that can now fit into many different aspects of production, of different sizes. So we're very excited about this. And before we jump into it, let's talk about the inputs on the device itself. As you can see my chart here, and I'm going to make my way over, but there is a ton more inputs on the YoloBox Pro that you can take advantage of. And let's go to the overhead here. And as you can see, I've got 3 HDMIs feeding into my YoloBox Pro, as well as an HDMI out that we're going to be taking advantage of later. And I've still got ports to go. I have my Ethernet port to stream hardwired. I have a USB-C out, as well as a USB-C charging port, 2 audio inputs, my headphone jack, and my USB port. And on this side, pardon me folks, I've got the SD card slot, and I have a standard tripod mount. You compare that to the YoloBox. With that folks, let's move that out of the way. With the YoloBox, we had just the 2 HDMIs and the USB input. So while this unit can take 4 cameras in, the YoloBox has those 2, plus maybe an additional for the 3rd, and we'll get into that in a minute. But let's look at this chart here really quick. And here are all of the inputs that you can do. Really, really excited about some of these expanded capabilities, and we'll be demoing it in just a moment there. So, as we're talking about the ports, and Adam, let's go back to the overhead. As we're talking about the ports, we did mention that you have 3 HDMIs into the YoloLiv YoloBox. 3 for a lot of people is going to be the sweet spot for how many cameras you want in your live production. So on my YoloBox Pro, I have 3 HDMI sources feeding in, and we'll switch them here. So I've got camera 2 and camera 3, and you can see how easy and how quickly this goes. Now, versus on my YoloBox, the original, I've only got 2 HDMI sources here. And you can see that while this is still quick, the YoloBox Pro is a little bit quicker. I also want to point out that for those who want the YoloBox, prefer that price range, prefer the size of that screen, you can still bring in a 3rd camera to match YoloBox Pro. Apologies, folks. with the USB port. However, what you're compromising there is the capability to bring in a USB device to record to. So you're committed to then using an SD card to record with. So when you use that device, you can push the YoloBox all the way to 3 cameras with the USB, whereas YoloBox Pro comfortably brings in 3 HDMI, usually those are the higher class, a little bit more broadcast level cameras, and I can even push it to bring in a 4th camera. And one of the key differences I want to start out with right here is I'm going to hook up a USB camera live to show you just how easy it is and which unit does it just that much faster. So when I look at the YoloBox, the original, and I plug in my USB camera, it's going to take just a moment for it to be able to power up. So plugging that in, and you'll see it when it pops up. I have my USB camera ready. And in just a moment, we will get an analog on this device that says the USB input may take more than the usual processing power. So this is on the original device. That doesn't mean you can't use it. You can absolutely still use that device, but it's going to process a little bit slower and take a little bit more power from your device versus, however, it does come up really smoothly once it's in, versus the YoloBox Pro. Let's take a look at that. When I plug this in, it's going to pop up right away. So as I come in, and we're going to wait for it to register, it still is going to have a small lag period, but then it will pop up, and it will be a little bit more of an easy setup. And here it is ready to go. And you can even see that the preview window is a little bit smoother. So that's something right off the bat that I noticed. And as we talk about that as well, I want to talk about which cameras are best to use on the YoloBox Pro. We've noticed that the YoloBox Pro, while it has more processing power, does take a little bit more energy to charge, a little bit more power. So first of all, our charging recommendation is to plug these units into the wall and start with 100% battery. That should last you about 3 hours for your production. But a USB webcam is going to draw power from your YoloBox Pro. We recommend using that device, that USB input, with a USB powered camera that has a DC power jack. 2 of ours that we've used and really enjoyed are the BirdDog P100 and the PTZ Optics USB camera, both of which have USB out, but also a DC power, so they won't draw power from your YoloBox. So that's just a quick video, guys, tip on how to set up. Following up really quick, let's take a look at this diagram from YoloBox of all the different inputs you can bring in. And what this is showing off that I thought was really interesting is all the different ways you can bring in your inputs. You have a camera input, a GoPro, and a computer all over HDMI, and then a drone feeding in via USB-C input, which is another big difference between the 2 devices. While YoloBox, the original, had only 1 USB-C port for charging, this device, the YoloBox Pro, has 2, one for an input-output and one for charging. Then you can use that, and actually down the line, YoloBox Pro has an HDMI out for monitoring, but it's also going to have a USB-C output that you can feed into a computer for video conferencing or to bring in your camera source as a webcam from the YoloBox. So we're really looking forward to that feature. Comparing the 2 devices, take a quick look at this chart from YoloBox. You'll see that the YoloBox original versus the YoloBox Pro, there's a significant amount more features. And let's bring up the overhead camera here. So YoloBox Pro has about an inch on the original YoloBox. And while that doesn't sound like it's a lot of screen real estate, if you're looking at my overhead shot, you can see that that is a significant difference. In fact, if we stack these units here, the size of the screen of the YoloBox Pro is the same size as the entire unit of the original YoloBox. For those who are also filming outdoors, these screens have tremendous brightness, but the YoloBox Pro has the brighter screen at 400 nits. Also, the HDMI out on the YoloBox Pro is now HDCP compliant. So what that means is it's able to be brought into more production systems, more devices, and more flexible than the original YoloBox's HDMI out. Let's cut to the overhead because I also want to show off the HDMI out here. As a general rule for YoloBox, the HDMI out is always going to show you the GUI on screen unless you set it to something different. So as you can see here, right now I have my HDMI out from the YoloBox Pro. You can see everything that I'm doing on the unit. This is great if you want a monitor to be able to see what you're doing in a bigger form factor. But if I want to bring this in to a switcher or an encoder, one, for example, would be the RGB Link Mini. I can go right here to my settings, HDMI program out, I tap that on, and there's my HDMI out. And this is now HDCP compliant, meaning that I can feed it to even more places. And you can see how quickly that goes, and the switching on the YoloBox Pro is very robust, very quick. Back to my comparison here. As we mentioned before, there is a USB-C port on the YoloBox that's meant to charge your YoloBox, which you'll see right on top, and I actually have mine charging right now, versus the YoloBox Pro, which has two USB-C ports, 1 and 2. So one's for charging, and the other will take an input for something like a drone or output video via USB-C, which is a tremendous feature that they've added. For audio, podcasters are also going to love the YoloBox Pro, as they already love the YoloBox. It's very popular for video podcasters to feed their soundboard into the YoloBox with the 3.5 millimeter audio jack. So let's take a look at the audio mixer that's here on these units. You can see it's incredibly easy when you head over to the audio mixer. Here I have all of my cameras in this straightforward mix here. But I can also bring in a line in, a line in or a mic in input, which you'll see right on the top of the YoloBox. So if I'm a podcaster and I'm feeding in my soundboard, I can do that with my line in, and I can even feed in an additional mic with the mic in jack. Whereas the original YoloBox, while still had some of that capability, only featured the one line-in audio jack. So you can feed in a mixer, but no more sources than that. That's really added a ton of capability to the audio mix potential with the YoloBox. In addition, you'll notice when you're using the YoloBox Pro, it runs much faster and smoother than the original YoloBox. Even in the preview screen for these two devices, when you look at my cameras down here, when I'm on the YoloBox Pro, it's picking up all of the frames, whereas you're a little choppy on the YoloBox. So it's really nice to have smooth preview within the device. You can see how quickly this thing moves, how it's ready to go at just a tap. YoloBox still very robust, very quick, but takes a little second to process, and that's because of the CPU on the two devices. The original YoloBox has a Qualcomm 625 CPU, whereas YoloBox Pro now has a 660 CPU. So that's what brings us down to the price, where YoloBox is still great for a lot of productions at $899, but you can now step it up if you want more capabilities at $1,299. Now, as we dive into this, I also want to stress that we have a ton of content coming out about the YoloBox Pro in addition to this webinar. We've already posted a YoloBox Pro unboxing video just yesterday that you can watch that gives you information on everything included in the box. We'll of course have our Video Guys product spotlight on the YoloBox Pro, which chronicles all the different workflows that we've found to use the device in, and some of the more detailed specs of the device. And lastly, we have a YoloBox and YoloBox Pro comparison video that's going to be a great resource for what you can do with YoloBox versus YoloBox Pro, And what are the key differences between them? Adam, we have a little bit of that video ready to go. Can we roll it?
You'll see here your ports are significantly expanded on YoloBox Pro with an extra HDMI, as well as 2 USB Type-Cs versus YoloBox's 1, and 2 audio inputs, one being a mic and one being a line in, whereas YoloBox only has the 1 audio input.
When you take these ports and put them into action, the difference between the YoloLiv YoloBox and the new YoloBox Pro are apparent. For starters, the ability to bring in 3 HDMI cameras on the YoloBox Pro versus the 2 HDMI cameras on the YoloLiv YoloBox is a significant difference. For many live stream productions, 3 cameras is the sweet spot. The USB port on top of both YoloBoxes can be used for either an external USB storage device or a USB camera source. Users on the YoloLiv YoloBox can bring in a 3rd camera using the USB port, while users on the YoloBox Pro can use that port as a 4th camera input. Am I on? Sorry, folks. Alrighty, and all of the links to all of those resources will be available in the blog post for this webinar as well, so you can have a directory to where to find each piece to get going. I also want to take a moment to look at the Facebook comment section. Scott says, can the YoloBox Pro stream to multiple destinations at once? And the answer is yes, it can. While many other encoders don't have that capability, YoloBox can stream to multiple CDNs at one time. And if we just take a quick overhead look here, Adam, when I go down to my streaming section, this is true of both YoloBoxes. It'll load up the platforms I can go to. You have your YouTube module, Facebook, Twitch, or a custom RTMP, and you can take it to multiple destinations at one time. That's all part of the power that's built into the YoloBox. Another great feature of the YoloBox, true of both, is the touchscreen control on the YoloBox UI. This runs just like a tablet, meaning even if you're a sports organization or a house of worship or education, you can hand this to a volunteer or a student, and they'll quickly be able to pick up how to use it because it runs just like a tablet that they're all familiar with. And that's not just with switching cameras. Everything you do on this box is very easy to figure out and start moving on. More on that in a moment when we talk about functions, because this works as both a switcher and a designer for how your stream looks. I can do custom graphics, picture-in-picture, and more. And actually, a new feature with the new UI is that I can go in here and I can make not just a picture-in-picture, but a split view. So let's move this out, and actually, I'm going to set this back really quick to just the HDMI out so everybody can kind of see what I'm doing here. And Adam, if we could pop that up. You'll see my screen right here if I hit Add Video Source, and I select P&P, something very popular for a lot of streamers, especially if you want to show off a presentation in a speaker. I go right here, and I'm going to make this on screen really quick, and also take notice of how fast the YoloBox Pro is able to do this. It works very quickly. So let's say I want Adam to be my main basic shot. I'm going to select HDMI 2. And then I want to put, say this was another talking head for HDMI 1. I'm going to select that as well. And I can even rescale the size of my source and drag it around. Anybody familiar with YoloBox has done this before. And if I want to go back really quick, another cool thing within the UI is the ability to do split view and side by side, which are exactly as they sound like. So split view, let's say I have a person here and a person here. Next. And now I have a split view of 2 different sources, which is very cool. They've added a ton of customization that you're able to do now with YoloBox and YoloBox Pro, which we're very excited about. And you can see how quickly and easy this is to do with that tablet form factor here. So I'm going to hit done. And let's move into overlays on the device. Now, YoloBox has a ton of overlays included, and that's true of both units. And you can also bring in custom overlays, your own lower thirds, your own graphics. So let's take a look at how we're going to take advantage of these. On the YoloBox Pro here, and let's go full screen with it. I want to do an overlay. I have this little icon down here. I'm going to select that. Nope, sorry folks. This one right here. And if I want to add a new overlay, select right there. I can do an image overlay or a lower third. Image overlay, it has a couple YoloLiv graphics to start with, which I'm going to use, but you can absolutely use a USB device to import your own. Now, when I hit image overlay, let's say I want this image here, this PNG, done, and I can resize that as I please and move it across the screen. And let's get out of that really quick. And if I want a lower third, I can do much the same thing. And let's say I want this, and the lower third is here, and I want to write on my lower third, I'll just say video guys live. Next, check. And I can even add my subtitle, YoloBox Pro. And then if I want to pop that up, here it is, and I can move it about my screen if I so choose. And we'll exit out of here, and let's go here. Now, back on to the extended features of the YoloBox here. That's a ton of capabilities. And actually one that I'm sorry, Adam, let's go back really quick, because you can also do scoreboard functionality. I just want to show how quickly and easy this is. Right on the bottom, there's a 1-to-1 ratio. Hit that and select scoreboard display. This is totally customizable with team info. I can add in who the teams are, and I can even add a clock to that as well. Back onwards, simultaneous streaming, and we touched on this before. This device can feed to 3 destinations simultaneously. So if you wanted to stream to Twitch, Facebook, and YouTube, you could do so. YoloBox Pro has the power to do it, and even offers custom RTMP. And that's with all of the major streaming platforms. Internet sources, you can bring in Wi-Fi or an Ethernet cable, but you can also stream via SIM card with cellular data. I do want to stress that neither YoloBox comes with a SIM card. You do need to purchase one separately and get a service plan for that SIM card to really make it work the way that you want it to. But it is an option with YoloBox that works very well. You can also input an SD card, and on the YoloBox Pro, you now have the ability to bring in a PDF with that SD card. So it's not just for recording, you can also use it to bring in a PDF and present a presentation on the YoloBox, which is a really cool feature. They've optimized it for a PDF. Just little things to think about when designing your production. In addition, the battery life, as we've already discussed, is longer. At 3 hours, you can really record a significant broadcast that levels it up over the YoloBox's 2 hours. Very, very cool that they've added that capability. Again, we do recommend coming with a full charge and using a USB source that doesn't pull power from the unit, as that won't let you hit that 3-hour mark. Here are some key features I want to throw up full screen really quickly for everybody. And ones that I want to point out is that with all of the inputs, the canned sources, etc., you can get up to 8 sources in the YoloBox with 2 audio inputs, 4G LTE streaming if you have the correct SIM card. Really a lot of capabilities that can be done with the YoloBox Pro if you fully push it to its limits, and we're very excited about the potential there. There's also a ton of new features coming soon. This version of the YoloBox Pro is not the final version. It's here, it's ready to go, it's already a very powerful device. We're very excited about the chroma key capability coming to the YoloBox Pro. Something that was absent from the original YoloBox. You can now use this in a studio environment and have full chroma key capability on the device. In addition, you'll be able to change to more fonts and more colors in your graphics, which is an awesome idea. Little things that people don't think about as much. The ability to reuse projects. If you've used YoloBox before, you know that once you've streamed with a project, you have to create a whole new one. With an upcoming update, that will no longer be the case. You can open your project as many times as you like. We've also talked about the enhanced audio interface. They're going to push that even farther to make it even better for that audio crowd, the podcasters, the audio designers who are all using YoloBox to stream with. Multiple SD card video sources, bitrate control and adjustment, various graphic templates, not just the custom ones built onto there. And one of our favorite features is that we're going to see USB out from the YoloBox Pro, making it perfect for video conferencing. If you're looking to bring multiple cameras into Zoom, into Teams, etc., or you just want to use the YoloBox to switch and then feed that to a stream that's being handled, say, in something like OBS or Wirecast, you'll be able to do that when these features come, which we're very, very excited about. And I do want to remind you that the YoloBox is still available at $899. That makes this a very capable product family for all different sizes of production. And let's take one more look at them before we're done here. You have the YoloBox Pro at $1299 and the YoloBox at $899. This one's a little smaller, a little more compact, but definitely has a ton of power for this little tablet body. And if you need more power, you head right over to the YoloBox Pro, where we've got a ton more features and a much more robust processor, which we're very, very psyched on. If you have questions about the YoloBox Pro, we are here to answer them. You can give us a call at 1-800-323-2325. If you dial extension 1111, you'll reach me directly. I've been playing with the unit now for about 2 weeks. I'm getting really familiar with it. And of course, we use the YoloLiv YoloBox day in, day out, all of the time. You can also dial extension 1119 to reach Adam, who is mixing the show right now. We are real people. We will talk to you about the gear and get you what you need. And use the Video Guys chat box at videoguys.com. You'll get a real person there as well. Visit us on Facebook, on YouTube, on Instagram at Video Guys. Links will be in the description. Share the word. Keep spreading these videos around. Like and subscribe to make sure that we can continue to create more content about this gear. And tune in every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time for the next Video Guys live webinar. I'm Oliver Ricketts. Thank you so much for watching, and get streaming. Bye, everybody.
Thank you for watching this week's Video Guys live webinar. We go live every Tuesday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time to our Facebook and YouTube pages with the latest news on live streaming, video editing, and video storage technologies.
Join us next week for a great webinar on PTZ camera controllers from BirdDog, PTZ Optics, and more.
Video Guys is available Monday through Friday. Give us a call at 1-800-323-2325. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter and Instagram to stay connected with all of our updates. And you can like us on Facebook. Keep an eye out for our live videos, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Thanks for watching.